Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. A warm welcome to you wherever you are joining us across the world. And already we can see people from Italy, Canada, London, Iowa, Finland. A huge welcome to you all. So today's webinar is all about scenario-based learning. And as usual, we will be inviting you to share your thoughts, your feedback, any questions directly in the chat, because we like to answer your questions as soon as you post them, because we don't want to leave any behind. And if you ask a question, you might just mention something that somebody else is thinking and they don't post it. So please do post your comments and your questions. In the chat, we are joined by Ivan, who heads up our fantastic support service. And Ivan is going to be answering your questions either in the chat if they're account type questions. We've also got lots and lots of resources for you. So don't worry, because we will be sending you an email after the webinar, about 15 minutes or so afterwards. And there is a huge list of resources, and we'll always send you the slides as well. And our slides have lots and lots of links in. So hopefully I've set the scene. Thank you so much already for all of your wonderful comments. I can see that we're also joined by Astrid, who's joining us in the Netherlands. Thank you, Astrid. That's such a lovely comment. Our opportunities are created by you suggesting them. So please do continue to suggest all of the ways that we can develop these webinars for you. So I am not alone either in the studio. We're joined by Dee Gotsopoulos. Dee, you're joining us from Colorado.
Hi, everyone. Yes, sunny Colorado, which is nice. We have 300 days of sun out here, so it's always nice to get through the winter. I don't know how it is. I know in the UK for you, Louise, it's pretty gloomy.
Yeah, so. It's really cold, and it's always funny when I do webinars throughout the year, you can always see the seasons, usually by the length of my hair and how pale I am, but also it's obviously really dark out there. So we hope that you are warm and cozy wherever you are in the world, and please do keep your comments coming. We're already seeing questions about AIs and branching scenario, and we'll make sure that we cover how to use PDF files in your scenarios as well. So we have a lovely deck for you all about branching scenarios and scenario-based learning, and we're going to be qualifying what that is, because scenario-based learning has actually been around for some 33 years now. I did my homework. It was launched in 1991. Same year the internet was born, actually, which is quite interesting. And there's been a great deal of prominence attached to scenario-based learning, particularly in the era of AI, when we're trying to focus more about really impactful and engaging experiences. So many of you who are joining us maybe don't know what ThingLink is. Some of you have been using ThingLink and knowing it for some time. And I'm sure you'll agree that ThingLink has grown so much in the last year, let alone the last 5 years since I've been here. So moving into 2025, you'll see that the ThingLink editor is only going to get better and better, but you'll see two main products in your ThingLink account: the ThingLink main editor and also the ThingLink Scenario Builder, and the new ThingLink Scenario Builder that we're going to be talking about today. But I don't want to leave out these other two boxes that you can see on this slide. We do also have our AR app, so you can build in-person experiences. Looking around for my phone, don't know what I've done with it, but you'll be able to have your AR viewer app on your phone and scan an object, and the ThingLink that's associated with that object will pop up on the phone with all of the hotspots. And the other great product, and I think this is just genius, so you can, with your mobile phone, take one panoramic image, and with ThingLink, we'll turn it into a photosphere so you can create that fully immersive experience. So if you are new to ThingLink, welcome to ThingLink. If you are a ThingLink lover already, then you will still find something new. When you click on that slide in the deck, when you receive it, you'll see some great new things with ThingLink. So first of all, the new types of base media. So you'll be able to use an image, you'll be able to use a 360 image, but you'll also be able to generate your own 360 images now and generate your own images directly through text prompts. So there's a real feeling that you can use your own media. You can use some of our media that we've already generated that's part of our library, but you can also create your own as well. There's also those of you who are eagle-eyed, you'll have spotted that instead of 5 different types of tags, we've got 6 different types of tags now. Our text and media tag, and I'm not sure if you noticed there, but there's a little hover over preview now, which is really helpful for reducing cognitive overload. It gives you a snapshot of what's in that tag. There's also a plain text label tag, our embed tag, where you can embed any type of third-party content, and there you go. You can just see a little map there of where I am in the north of Scotland. We've got our transit tag, which enables you to hop from one ThingLink to another, and you can even have a question there that people need to get right in order to progress to the next scene. We've got our poll tag, which is a quick snap poll. And we have our new question tag. And this question tag is here for you to check comprehension. There's no data associated with it, but you can check whether people know the answer. And if they give a wrong answer, you can put a custom message. And you can only imagine that this little tag is going to improve as we see it developed. So there you have it, some really nice improvements with ThingLink, and please do explore those amongst others. Now, I was going to ask you a question before I move on to that slide, Dee. So Dee, tell us about yourself and what's exciting you in the world of learning and development at the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Louise. So a little bit about me. I early on in my college career, I studied psychology with a focus on industrial organizational psychology. So really focused on human behavior in the workplace. And from there, I found a career in HR tech in the past 3 with a focus on learning and development. Now, with that, to answer that question, one thing that really excites me is that I've seen a shift in organizations. And they have realized that learners really have a thirst for upskilling, for increasing their skill development, because they either want to continue to evolve in the workplace and grow in the workplace, or they want to take those skills and move elsewhere. So there's been a big shift and focus on that skill development, which I love because there is a thirst for learning.
And there's quite a sense of urgency now as well, isn't there, around organizations to really embrace this. People are just not, it's not going to cut it, is it, to be given like a PDF or just watch a video that you can click through?
No, no, and that's a great point. It needs to be contextual, right? It needs to be something that they can relate to, and it actually translates to that real world environment.
Yeah. So with that in mind, we've talked about skills there. And it's really interesting to think about what we mean by those kinds of skills. So what do we mean by the kinds of skills that we want people to start developing in our workplace? And I thought this was really interesting to call out. So this was developed by the World Economic Forum. And if you want to, when you click on this, it will take you to this ThingLink. And I've actually put a tag in here that takes you to that report. So you'll be able to go in and have a look at that. But things like analytical thinking and innovation, surely everyone should be having developing these kinds of skills. It's not just about passing knowledge on anymore, because we can do that with our phones, can't we? So why are these so important, do you think, Dee?
I think there's a huge shift. And if you actually notice in this list, the majority of these skills are going to be soft skills. And I think that there's a big piece. Of course, there's going to be the hard skills when we're talking about coding and pieces like that. But there is, learners want more of that soft skills. And really the key is that they want to be actively engaged because they perform better when they're actively involved. And that you'll see that that is the second skill on the list. Whether it's solving problems, making decisions, or navigating challenges, the key is really going to be active engagement and contextual learning. So it's really important to make sure that we're focusing on those right skills and the top skills you see here.
Yeah, and this is a great list, and I wonder if we'll see it change next year when the top skills of 2026 is usually posted, a year out. Yeah. So we've got these skills that have been identified by the World Economic Forum, but I was just thinking about how we then can create an experience that provides these in the right context for learners. Because if we're looking at a situation or a problem that has no relevance to us, how do we then build our own skills? It's got to be right and relatable, doesn't it? It has to be in the right context.
Yes, absolutely. And that's how you create active engagement as well. And I think this takes us right into scenario-based learning.
It certainly does. As if by magic. So when we talk about scenario-based learning, and I think there's there's a few misconceptions around this, because scenario-based learning is a bit like, how when you were younger, you might have read a book called Goosebumps, or that, I don't know if that was UK or US, but it was where you could pick your answer to what was going to happen in the book, or the problem, and then you would scan on to a different section in the book, so you could create your own adventure, pick your own path. But it's almost like a storyline, isn't it? So what we've got is a scenario-based learning that is really about a storyline which is developing.
Yes, and I think that's important to say that scenario-based learning, it puts learners in the driver's seat. So exactly like you said, it could be a choose your own adventure, but it really uses realistic problem-based scenarios to guide the learning process, and learners can actively engage with situations they're likely to encounter in real life when we're talking about it in a real world contextual environment.
And I think this is a really nice place then to just start talking and thinking about what the benefits are of scenario-based learning.
Yes, and there are quite a few. So I will take a couple of quotes here, and then we'll dive into some more benefits. But I want to start off. So Dr. Leah Green from University of Salford, Manchester, highlights one of the most important aspects, and that's that simulations and scenario-based learning transform learners from passive recipients to active percipients. So when we're talking about being actively engaged, scenario-based learning is specifically there, right? It's critical for skill development. When learners are involved, they remember more and are better equipped to apply the knowledge that they've learned, and they're going to be more confident. And we'll talk about that in a second, because Deloitte's research also backs it up, showing that it's not only more engaging, but more efficient, right? By practicing real world tasks in a virtual environment, learners get immediate feedback and the opportunity to refine their skills quickly before going and having to apply them to that real world, right? They're able to practice before. So if your focus is upskilling and reskilling your current learners, using a scenario-based approach can actually speed up that process by 40%. So it's not just faster, it's smarter.
It's really interesting because I was actually at a seminar with Leah Green, Dr. Leah Green, and she developed a way that you could measure physical responses as people were going through the scenarios. And actually being an active participant enables you to develop some empathy for the situation that you're in, which is another reason why it's really important to make it relevant and relatable. Because if you've got characters who you just don't relate to, or you think are ridiculous, it's going to turn you off from the learning experience. And you need to be careful that you're also considering the welfare of people that are participating as well. So if you do have content which might be emotive or too emotive, it could be triggers. So it's always important to think about the welfare of your participants as well, or your learners. That Leah would love me to say that point, because that was her in it, which is why I mentioned it there. And this is another one of your slides, Dee, about the benefits.
Yeah, and 100% agree. I think it's really important to focus on who your audience is and also who your characters are. And I'm going to continue on the benefits because there are a lot, but one of the things that I want to emphasize, and that Harvard Business School professor Amy Edmondson emphasizes in scenario-based learning, is that failure isn't a flaw, right? It's a learning opportunity. So when learners can safely make mistakes in controlled environments, they're not just failing, they're gaining critical insights. And I always like to bring this back to a real world example, and I'm sure everyone can relate to this at some point. I remember in college when I first started doing my own laundry, I didn't understand why you had to separate your colors, right? Until I ruined all of my clothes and all of my white shirts, right? And I learned that really quick. I failed and I never made that mistake again because I lost my clothes, right? And I think that's a good example of failing. It's just like if you think about, a kid touching a hot stove for the first time. They learn pretty quickly to never do that again. Louise, can you think about, or can anybody think about a time that they failed and they learned from that failure?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also the opportunity cost of doing something, isn't there? So you don't necessarily need to have a right answer or a wrong answer, which has like some kind of completely catastrophic failure. It could be that actually, if you picked another answer, you could have saved yourself some money. I did that with buying a car. I was totally swayed by the pretty looking car. It was actually like an older vintage style when I should have just paid more attention to the engine. So, it's like there could be an opportunity cost, or it might be that one of the answers is just less wrong than the others, and there are no right answers, or all the answers are right. So this is a really nice way of being able to do that, isn't there? Some really nice comments coming through. Gina Bennett, I was going to put this up on the screen. We can call soft skills evolutionary skills based on anthropological research, critical thinking, higher level cognition. That's a really great comment, Gina. Thank you for showing this. And then somebody else was saying that learners were like 1 or 2 questions per teaching, Gina again, and they do better with quizzes and tests at the end. So you can have that kind of scenario and then have the kind of quizzes or tests at the end, which can consolidate learning as well. So yeah, there's some really nice ideas coming through there. And you mentioned there about confidence and competence.
Yeah, absolutely. So going through, and I just, that the opportunity cost, let's start there and then I will get through. But like you just mentioned, that's one of the biggest advantages of scenario-based learning, because they allow learners to experience failure without the real world consequences, which ties directly into building that confidence. And this is really great to encourage that failure, because the more they fail, the more they learn. And once they are pushed into that real world scenario, they're going to have the confidence to perform and make the right decisions when they are put into that situation where they need to make that decision. They've already learned from their failures in a low risk, no risk environment.
And there's so many different contexts that you could use this for, where there's situations of really high risk. So, I mean, you could say that putting your washing in the wrong color order was actually pretty high risks if you had some nice expensive cashmere jumpers or something. But we're joking with those kinds of contexts, but people's lives are at risk, you know, in the transport industry, the health and safety industry, even like customer service skills, where the wrong decision could cost the company their reputation. There is so many really great contexts. I can't think of a context that I really wouldn't use this for, to be honest. I think that, you know, you could use it in so many different ways.
100% agree. I mean, you think about it in healthcare, right? That's a big one where someone's life is at risk if you make the wrong decision. So this is really where that scenario-based learning and that contextual learning can really help boost confidence for even a really high-risk environment.
And if you've got any examples of like context that you would like to see developed with scenario-based learning, put them in the chat, because we just love hearing all of your use cases as well. I know that Astrid's just mentioned safety course for their school laboratories. That's a great example, because we often think about schools using learning for learning about a subject and the skills associated with that subject content. But yeah, I mean, everybody has to learn how to use things safely in the laboratory. So that's a really good example there. Thank you, Astrid, for sharing that. So now that we've kind of set our own context and our own scene, how do we create our scenario-based learning experiences? Well, if you've already been using ThingLink for a while, you know that we have actually put together some advice for you, and we have completely revamped this guidance and brought it bang up to date. You'll notice it's even got the new gradient colors for ThingLink, and this is going to be coming out to you in your emails. If you click on the link in your email, this has got a complete walkthrough of how to plan your scenario-based learning experiences. So if we are rushing through things, please don't worry, because you're going to get all of this guidance with you 15 minutes after the webinar. Lisa's already saying here that a lot of information before they absorb other learning information. So yeah, great tips there as well. So we put this together to help people to plan their scenario-based learning experiences. And if you've already used ThingLink, you know that we've already implemented a way that you can use AI to help you, but that's more about micro learning experiences. When we're creating scenario-based learning, because it's so nuanced, it's really important that you can think about the steps that are involved in that evolving story. And I know that you're going to share a really nice example in a moment, Dee. So where to start? So if you are thinking about even starting with a pen and paper is a good place to start sketching it out, although there are other tools that you can use. So I did mention this to Dee earlier on. So if you do have access to ChatGPT, you can actually use something like this to help plan a scenario. I'm just going to go in and show you. This is just done with ChatGPT, and you can paste this in. And I'm just going to go back into it now. So what you could do is just paste in a little scenario, create a branching learning experience for me about what to do if you find the kitchen fire. And then this would actually start to come up with some learning objectives for you, but it would also help you to plan some decision points around that scenario. So if you do want to have a little bit of a leg up, there are other AI tools that can help you to do that. But it's really useful to think of it in terms of having a way of setting your scene, the context, and then think about a challenge. What's the knotty problem that you want people to unpick? And this is where you can put your learning intentions, but your challenge needs to be well outlined and it needs to be set within the context. And then the next step on from that is thinking about the choices. What are you going to do if this happens? And remember, they might be wrong choices, they might be right choices, they might be ones that are just less wrong than the other. And then, of course, you need to show what the consequence of that choice is. So you might be looking at Dee's ruined washing. You might be Louise sat with a broken down car after making the choice of buying the pretty car rather than the actually one that was sound with the engine working. And then, of course, what do we always build into our learning experiences? And that's that opportunity to contemplate or even go and try that situation again and try a different outcome. And these 5 C's really help you to then think about that flow of the evolving story. And I think that's a really lovely way to start to think about how you might plan it. So Dee, I'm going to hand over to you now because you are going to show us a little bit about the 2 different ways in which you can create with the new ThingLink Scenario Builder.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first way you're going to be able to create is with AI. And I think Louise, if you want to jump to the next slide here.
Transform
so our
your existing PDFs
scenario
into
builder
immersive learning
allows you
experiences in a matter
to
of minutes.
take
With
your
ThingLink's new
static
Create with
materials
AI
like
feature.
PDFs and PowerPoint
This quick and easy
and
tool
get
is available to
80% of the
try
way
now
there
for
in
free.
terms of creation,
Get
right? So we
started
can
with 5
upload those
simple
pieces,
steps.
and it really
Step 1.
follows 2
Click
different
Create with
learning
AI and select
methodologies.
an
So
AI
you'll see
model.
here,
Step
I'm not
2.
going to walk through the whole
Upload a
thing, but of
training
course
document.
it comes
Provide a
uploading. We're
brief
going to have our
description of the
prompts.
training.
We're going to
And
be
choose your
able
preferred
to
language.
also
Step
put in our
3.
learning
Pick your
objectives.
training
And Louise, I'm
structure.
hearing the volume
Linear
of
for
the
I know,
video.
a
If
I
you turn
training
down a little bit.
experience.
Do you know,
or
I
branched
have
for learners
just
to
turned
explore
the
different
video
outcomes and
volume
scenarios.
off, and I'm
Step
just going
4.
to start the video again because the sound was
Review
coming
the learning
through.
objectives and
So
content
I think we can
areas
start from here if
yeah, I just
possible.
started that. There you go.
Transform
Just
your
started.
existing PDFs into immersive learning
The volume's
experiences in
still
a
there.
matter of minutes.
However, I can
With
just talk.
ThingLink's new
Go ahead and
Create with
pause the
AI
video.
feature. This quick and easy tool
It
is
shouldn't be.
available
I
to
can't
try
hear
now
the.
for
I
free.
can't hear the audio on the video. Oh, there you go. Ivan's muting.
So, okay, great. Thank you. And I just wanted to chat a little bit through this. So our Create with AI feature allows you to upload static materials and get you the majority of the way there. And there's 2 different really learning methodologies that we utilize here. So when you see linear and branched, your linear is really going to be that step-by-step process. We're going to have those micro learning, the little questions within, and then branch is going to be that micro learning, choose your own adventure, like Louise was talking about when it comes to Goosebumps, and being able to have put in your learning objectives, content areas, so on and so forth. This is how we're going to be able to create with AI, right? This is going to be our output, and we can enhance the materials with AI, but we also still allow you to bring in your own scenes that you've created utilizing ThingLink, or you can use our AI to convert your text blocks into a ThingLink scene. I think there was a question, and I do believe Ivan's been on it with Minecraft education, but part of the way there, to allow you to create different branch scenarios, you can bring in text from PDFs as well to start branching in different directions. So we can start utilizing and pulling those pieces in and then create with AI. What you get as your output from our Create with AI isn't the end all be all, right? You can always edit it. You can continue to build if it's not exactly what you want. So that's the beauty of it, right? AI is not here to do our whole job for us. We're the experts at the end of the day. So you're able to change up the materials, change up your structure as you build. The ideas will get you 80% of the way there and really streamline that content creation process.
You just went through that really, really quickly, Dee.
So sorry, everyone.
No, you did great. You did a fantastic job. So, yeah, apologies for the 2 audio featuring there. If you want to go back in and watch that video in your own time, then yes, absolutely, please do. It's the videos in the deck that we'll share with you. So there's a really nice question here from Cecilia, and Cecilia has asked if materials are kept private, and Ivan's been super helpful and answered this in the chat, that the AI model will analyze the information, but ThingLink does not keep any information beyond what is used to create the scenario. And there's also a really detailed description in the link there, but we'll make sure you get all of those links at the end. So what was really nice about that, Dee, is that you were able to show the process of how it creates what we would say is a micro-learning experience. So that AI-driven scenario builder can create the sequential steps just from a PDF. And I've actually got an example here Jed's saying, data is really important to universities. We totally get that. So thank you for that comment. And if you click on this link, which will be in the deck that you get, you can see you've got welcome to the cabin crew training. You click forward, and this is a ThingLink scene that has got a little bit of more information about it. And then it takes you through these types of like content areas that you want to go through. So here, you can move to the next topic, which is safety equipment handling. And this is a really nice example of a micro-learning experience that's still in context, but it's taking people through sequential steps based on the subject content, isn't it? And the real context, which is slightly different from scenario-based learning, but it is still part of that whole experience, which is where you're putting learners in the driving seat. And there's no reason why you can't mix and match these together, can you, Dee?
No, absolutely not. And I think, like you mentioned, we want our learners and our audience to learn the material before we test them. That is part of learning, right? So we want to have these micro pieces before maybe we jump into some type of branch scenario. So they can consume the information first, and now we'll test their knowledge in that real world contextual experience.
So it gives you the best of both worlds. One comment Lisa's just asked, are airlines using these? I think it was meant for staff training, but I think maybe if we were given that on the screen and we could interact with it, wouldn't that be more effective than just able to stand there and to do it, and we actually watch? And maybe you'd have to like click something to say that you've watched it, and they would be able to analyze that you'd actually watched it. Who knows? Lisa, I think you're a genius for suggesting that. Going back to our slides then, Dee, you have got a great example of all of this in action, so over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. So we talked about one way to create, which was creating with AI. We can also just create a scenario from scratch, but also use, like I mentioned, those AI pieces to help generate images and generate ThingLink scenes based off of text. So you can also utilize templates to start, but if you do create a scenario from scratch, we have different blocks that we can utilize, which will be, again, those text blocks. We can also use AI tools to suggest branches from here. When we're talking about scenario-based learning, I want to show what the output of this is and start from building from scratch. So in this scenario, we're talking about skill development, soft skill development. This is a sales enablement course when it comes to objection handling, which is going to be a skill that every salesperson would need, right? It's that soft skill, but this can also help whether it's sales or any other departments, customer service. Objection handling is a key skill. So in this scenario, what's great is I do have my micro learning to start, right? I'm learning a little bit about the different types of objections, my strategy guide, And then I jump into the actual scenario. And this is really where you can see the different branches and where scenario-based learning can be really effective, because depending on how you respond to, let's say, that initial objection, it can take me down a few different paths. One is going to be that correct path, and I can jump from there into, I can also make a mistake afterwards, right? That's what's the beauty with scenario-based learning, is we can take them through a bunch of different paths so that they can see the outcomes of their responses and actions. So we have that correct initial path, we have the completely incorrect path, and we also have that chance where we allow them to jump back from that mistake, right? They might have answered incorrectly, but we have that opportunity to correct that answer and jump from there. And now when I mention, again, in our scenario builder, when we want to take that text, we can now utilize that AI and convert it into a scene. So any text that you have, we can have a matching image involved, we can improve the writing, and then we can convert to that ThingLink scene to make it more of that like immersive interactive type training. And now
That's
the
amazing.
output of this.
Right, I don't, just sorry to interrupt, but what you've just shown there is a way that people can generate their images and generate their tags in the new scenario builder, all in one go.
Exactly. So we have that create with AI, and that's a great place to start, but that doesn't end the creation process and the help and assistance that our tool can provide.
And you mentioned the jump back block, because in the previous scenario builder, you had to add that as a block. But in here, I can see that you're moving the line back to where you want people to go. So this is kind of like a drag and drop editor now, rather than actually manually putting in the jump back block.
Exactly. So once I have a place where they need to jump back, I can go ahead and say, you need to review this information and jump and then jump back to the scenario. What's I love the most, and going back into scenario-based learning and failure-based learning, is this really encourages learners fail as many times as you need. We really don't, it doesn't matter how many times you fail, you'll learn more each time you fail. And that's how we're going to reinforce that learning. So no matter what, we're still giving them the opportunity to relearn and correct their actions and choose the correct path eventually as well.
And that's a really good point, because we talk about analytics a little bit further on. But if you, as an educator or a leader of learning and development, you can actually see more failure points than you could when people get it right. And what does that tell you when people fail more in one particular area than others? And I think in industries, particularly in the health and safety industry, you learn more from the failures and the near misses, don't you? Then, because they're recorded.
Exactly. And you do. And that's the thing, is it doesn't necessarily have to have a grade at the end of this. The idea is we want to make sure they're learning the material. It doesn't always have to be you chose the correct path the right time, you get that gold star. We want that failure, because failure will lead to lifelong learning. And think about it, healthcare is a great example, but if we're talking about customer service, I think you have a great example here to show as well, Louise, but with the barista piece. So I'll go ahead and let you.
Yeah, there was a really nice question there, which is about where are the questions and the answers saved with this scenario. So individuals can actually be tracked through the scenario as long as they're logged into their ThingLink account. ThingLink knows it's them, because then they can access the scenario, and you can actually see that by the actual scenario. So I don't know if you've got one there, Dee. I can probably show one here that I've got. So let me just go into my ThingLink account and I'll show you. So if I go into my ThingLink account, and I'm just going to answer this question, and I go into my scenarios. So I've got one here, which is all about working in a coffee shop. So you might have seen this one before. You can see that I've got questions here, and I can add this analytics overlay. And this analytics overlay, I can actually do by user or by all, and it will show me the paths taken. So you can actually see here that no one's actually done this one because I've not shared it, but you would be able to see these in different colors, and it will give you unique viewers, total attempts, the average time it took to complete. You can view the data by block even, so you get that granular analytics, and then you can filter the data by all or by user, and then select whoever you've shared this with. What's really cool about this as well is not just with the analytics overlay. If I go into statistics here and I go into users progress, I would see it in an overview here. And if this is grayed out at the moment, but if that wasn't, you could download a report, which would be a CSV file of every single interaction. And that CSV file is nice raw data, because then you could create your own pivot tables. You'd be able to look at that in a much deeper level. And we've also got here about the XAPI integration, which I know that you know about this, Dee, really, really well. Can you just tell us quickly what XAPI is?
Absolutely. So XAPI is going to be a way that you can transfer the data into a learning record store and analyze further. Whether that learning record store is your LMS or wherever it might be, we can transfer all of this data into that system that'll allow you to analyze it further. So you can manipulate the data from there and jump into different pieces. So quite simply, it is just a way for us to transfer data, just like a SCORM file would have that.
And Lisa's just responded and says, yeah, that's all a neat idea. That was about learners being able to put free text in as well. So we just wanted to show you, because we thought it was really, really fun. And thank you for that example, Dee. And I've actually linked that on that slide so people can have a go at that and test their objection handling, even though they're not involved in customer sales. But this is another example of a learning experience. This is actually one which is quite funny. I'm going to put the sound back on my screen. So this is actually a member of the ThingLink team. His name's Henry. And I love this because it is absolutely typifying scenario-based learning. So imagine you're in the beautiful Finnish restaurant, hotel here, and you can see that you've got a reclamation, which is obviously you're trying to salvage the situation. And you can see here we've got the 360, so it's in context, it's relevant and relatable for the members of staff who are working in this beautiful Finnish hotel, which looks like it's ready for winter there. And then here,
good morning.
So here you've got Henry who's saying good morning. You click the proceed button and you reply and say, good morning, how can I help you? Hi, what's up? So we'll say, what's up? You want to greet the customer politely and ask how you can help. And now this has generated the response which is suitable for that kind of reply that you've just given. And
right.
It's loads. It should it's a 360.
Yeah, and
it's probably that. So if you go in a bit further, you then hear Henry saying, I couldn't sleep last night in a rather grumpy way because you haven't been polite to him to the start. And then you can give your response and say, I'm really sorry for that. Thank you for your feedback. And then it goes on again.
So like I said, I've been up all night and I have really important day today and tomorrow. So could you please do something about this?
And then you can click on further and say, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do, or do I understand you correctly? So this is really helping you to build that story, and your answers are taking you down that path that you can grow yourselves. And wouldn't it be fun to have a video of you doing this, and then you can record the different outcomes, and then if it's in 360 video, it's in situ, it's in context, it's immersive, it can be viewed in multiple ways, even with headsets. Astrid is saying, wow. And you can have a go at this in the deck that we've shown you as well. It'll be linked to the wonderful Henry's hotel scene. So we've gone through a little bit. Thank you for all your questions. We're loving having these. This really helps us. Gina's saying those analytics are amazing. So Dee's already shown you some of the scenario builder interface. It really is super easy to start to use. I'm just going to go back into my account here that you can see, and I've got that espresso machine malfunction. You'll see here in the new interface, you can do a normal view. You can even do a micro view as well. And this enables you to see it in an overview. I've shown you the analytics overview there as well. When you hit the new block, you can see all of the things that Dee suggested, adding media, which is from your ThingLink account, or you can even embed anything there. So it's not just ThingLink scenes that you can embed. You might even use the embed tag in ThingLink and put things like a Google form or a Google map or a Bing map or a Microsoft form, a Padlet. You could even put a Padlet in there to crowdsource really nice things like feedback, or how else would you have dealt with this situation? So don't think you're confined to just putting ThingLink scenes in there. And actually, going back to what Lisa was suggesting, you could even put in some freeform other things like quizzes or other things. We love app smashing. We love you playing with lots of other tools within ThingLink as well. So there it is. It's as easy as adding a new block and being able to drag and drop, adding in the branching, and then, of course, being able to then build in what your responses are using the text blocks. And that's exactly how Henry's example there was built. You've got your scene, your media, your branching, and then you're building out those pathways. You can just tell we love it. Gina's got some nice helpful responses here as well about alignment of text. I'll let Ivan answer that, but I'm going to go back to the deck here. So the other thing, and you mentioned there, Dee, about making it even more relatable to a scene. So you can turn up the pressure a bit, right?
Yes, absolutely. You can add a timer, because in the real world, again, making it contextual, you don't have a lot of time to react to a situation. You have, of course, you want to give them enough time to read the text, but you want to, they only have a few seconds really to react to, let's say, that customer service situation. And, you know, if I say, hi, what's up? That's not going to necessarily be the best answer there, but we only have a few seconds to react. So we can turn up the pressure with timers on ThingLink as well and add them to those specific branched questions.
And you can put a scenario to the whole thing as well, which is great. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that sounds brilliant. And then this third type of learning experience that you could create. So first of all, we had our sort of like micro learning experience with the sequential steps, and the branches are more about jumping to different types of content or sections of content. Then we had our true scenarios, and then I mean, we've been working with NHS trusts in the UK, Dee, and we saw the most amazing escape room, which was all about learning about the trust. We can't actually show you because it's content which is obviously sensitive to that particular NHS trust. But they created these kind of breakouts and escape rooms, and I thought that this was a nice example. And if you click on this, actually in the deck, you can have a fun play with this. So here I've got some information. I've got my welcome to the flagship store, and our tag containers now. I've got these nice rounded corners. Don't forget accessibility. So you've got information here about accessibility, the immersive reader. Remember, everything in Scenario Builder has got Immersive Reader built into it. So you can see down the bottom here, we've got our Immersive Reader icons that everyone can go into, so you have confidence that it doesn't matter what people's requirements are, they're going to be able to access it. Then we've got a little bit about how to play, and then if you click the proceed button, or the nice big blue, we've got a little bit of knowledge, which is a little bit of information about what we're going to be doing next. And then we go into and this is AI generated, we just made this up, it's called Escape the Boutique. So you've got to learn about the history and brand heritage, and then you can go through and then answer the questions, get them right. And then when you've got all your questions right, you've been able to escape the boutique. So we always want you to have the best of both worlds. So you can mix and match your scenarios, the ThingLink scenes, those wonderful 360s and 360 videos, and then put them into these kinds of experiences. So I know we're coming up to like our last 8 minutes or so. We always run out of time. Just another nod to advanced learning analytics. I know that we did mention this already, but this is really going to enable people to identify knowledge and gaps more than anything, isn't it, Dee?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, the reason we create all of these scenarios is because we want to drive learning outcomes. And the only way that we know if it's effective will be those advanced analytics. So driving those learning outcomes, making the correlations, identifying correlations as to, learners who took this path had outstanding performance, or we can start utilizing a number of things of the amount of questions they got right compared to their performance, and comparing them to performance reviews. The whole idea is we want to make sure that we are able to assess the effectiveness of our training and facilitate that continuous improvement by tracking those progress and outcomes.
And of course, if you have mandatory training, you've got absolute evidence that if you've got single sign-on and that person is signed into their account, and it's their Microsoft account or their Google account or their Canvas account, and they're completing the training, then you've got irrefutable evidence that they've completed training. And for some organizations, having that safety, that mandatory training has been completed. I know that sometimes we think that that's maybe a bit of a pain, but yeah, it is hugely important in organizations.
Tying that back really quick to skills, being able to identify skill gaps so that we can enroll that learner in some type of individual path where they can enhance that skill.
I'm going to roll on quickly and just say, we've mentioned this, you can share your scenario in multiple ways, whether it's for personal consumption, even working in groups when people are in a touchscreen environment. You could even have it in an interactive room or on a VR headset. We've mentioned this, always make sure that, you've mentioned this already, Dee, but just checking that it's all okay.
Yes, managing expectations and making sure that your learners know it's okay to fail. I think that that's really important, that we're not judging them based off of their failures in a scenario-based environment.
So lastly, we also wanted to mention that, and this comes up quite a bit, and I'm just going to show you, and this is just brilliant. So if I go back into my scenario here and I click the share button, you get a warning because there's a few different ways in which we make sure that you have considered everything before you share it. So one helpful tip here is, if you create a folder, you will be able to put all of the ThingLink scenes that you've created in one folder. If you click on the button here, you can select your privacy settings and change the privacy settings of every ThingLink. And I think that's just like a really helpful bit of advice. If I go back into my scenario here, just go back into the coffee one, you'll see that there's a little people icon. And here you can add people in to be viewers, editors, or administrators. And what that means is that you can collaborate with colleagues. So isn't that great if you've got two team teachers or, you know, two people bringing their expertise to create a scenario together that you can collaborate on creating these? And I think that's really important to highlight there. But then you can also set the overarching visibility to public or within your organization, or you can keep it private to specific individuals. And then when all of that is done and you hit your share button, you'll be able to share it in these ways. But a really clever tip here, there's a synchronized privacy settings link here, and it will do it all for you. But I think it's good practice to know how to do those things. So nod to Ivan and the development team for building that synchronicity into it. Going back to our deck just quickly, we've introduced landing pages. This is new features time. So if you click on the link in this deck, it will take you to an example landing page. So if you have an organizational account now, you can build your own ThingLink playlists, and these playlists are not just scenarios, they are also your ThingLink scenes. So now in your, I can show you exactly how to do it. So in your ThingLink account, what you'll be able to do is go into your organizational settings. You can see there's a landing page one here, and here you can build playlists. And you can add playlists, reorder them, and you can also add your ThingLink scenes to that landing page. And then when ready, you'll be able to share that landing page. I'm just going to go into here to show you. And it gives you your own ThingLink URL. So you have a unique URL. You can just, and I popped it into the chat there, and you'll be able to share that out. Here you can see that that is my landing page URL, and you'll be able to have multiple landing pages eventually as well. That is coming at some point. So by last and no means least, we've put together a frequently asked questions page for you. If you click that link, here is our wonderful, I've stopped sharing now, you'll be able to get our FAQ page. So a few minutes to have a bit of a roundup. Great webinar. Thank you, Louise and Dee. Best greetings. Thank you, Astrid, for joining us. Are there any more questions? Dee, is there anything else that you think that we've missed?
No, I don't think, unless there's any questions from the attendees. Otherwise, I think we've covered scenario-based learning, but I'm also happy to deliver a demo or a personalized demo if anyone wants to provide their materials, whether it's a PDF or a PowerPoint, so you can see what this looks like for your materials live.
I've just put your brilliant QR code and your scheduler demo. So if you don't have access to this and you want a one-to-one demo with Dee, you can click the scheduler demo or the QR code. And I think that's all from us. We've covered so much in such a short space of time. Thank you everyone for joining us. There's some really lovely comments coming in. Thank you. Our best wishes to everyone in Finland from Katrin. Lots of questions coming in. Lorena, thank you so much. Gina, Lisa, all of you who have joined us today. So all I've got left to say is thank you. Oh, I've got to put that on the screen. Can I just say how amazing the support team are? Absolutely. We think that Ivan and the team do a phenomenal job. Last question. Yes, you'll get all of these links in an email in about 15 minutes time. It comes out. If it is a little bit longer, don't worry, it will be coming. And you're always welcome to get in touch with us, support@thinglink.com. So all that's left to say, I think, on behalf of the whole ThingLink team, thank you so much for being part of our community and asking the questions, making recommendations that help us to get better as well. Have a wonderful evening wherever you are. And a big thank you to Dee, my co-host, joining us from Colorado. Thank you, Dee. You know, this is just such a great webinar, and people will be able to watch it on the catch up as well and on demand. But thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.